So I just sort of spontaneously, I have a friend of mine that's in town who's really one of my heroes in life. And I want to invite Sam Radshaker to come and join me here for a second. He's from Bangalore, India. Sam and I have been friends for 20 years. Going to visit Sam the first time about 20 years ago really rocked my world as I saw this man of God. Come on up, Sam. Man of God who loves Christ and just had this unbelievable heart for the poor. And Sam has for 20 years been finding ways to bless the city of Bangalore, doing things like clubs for street kids. At the time I was there, there's 300,000 street children just in the city of Bangalore. And Sam was running clubs for them and starting schools for kids in the slums who would have no other chance at education. Doing projects with young women, teaching them trades so that they would have marketable skills and an income, and just radically changing their life. So we were just having a visit for the last 2 days, but I couldn't have Sam here and not have you meet him. And let me just tell you, he's going to invite you to come see him in Bangalore. You should go. You could go in the summer and teach English or do whatever else at these schools. If you're an athlete, you could teach your sport. You could do all sorts of stuff. But I just have to introduce Sam to you because he's a dear friend of mine. Give us a greet.
Thank you, Scott. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you, Scott, for letting me come and say these few words. Well, I could go on and on, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to surprise any of you. So let me just say once again, as Scott said, I'd love for all of you to come to Bangalore, India. There's a lot that you can do, a lot that you can enjoy, and you will not regret that. So please do come, and it's lovely to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
All right, would you guys stand if you're able and worship the Lord with us? Come, let us worship, bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for He is our God, and we are the sheep of His pasture. We are the sheep of His pasture. Come, let us worship, bow down, yes. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for He is our God, and we are the sheep of His pasture. We are the sheep of His pasture. Come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us shout to the rock of our salvation. Come into His presence with thanks. Let us bring to Him our songs of praise. Come, let us worship, bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for He is our God. Yes, yes, and we are the sheep of His pasture. We are the sheep of His pasture. Sing it out. Oh, come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us shout to the rock of our salvation. Come into His presence with thanks. Let us bring to Him our songs of praise. The oceans are His, shout to the rock of our salvation. Come into his presence with thanks. Let us bring to him our songs of praise. Our songs of
A reading from John 10 about sheep. Very truly, I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep, and the gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Jesus used this figure of speech, but the Pharisees did not understand what he was telling them. Therefore, Jesus said again, very truly, I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it, and the man runs away because he's a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. But I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I have received from my Father.
Life you gave, your body was broken, your love poured out, you bled and you died for me there on the cross. You breathed your last as you were crucified. You gave it all for us. The frame of the fall son be sacrificed. He gave it all for us. Hallelujah, what a Savior, yes. Hallelujah, what a friend, oh, He's worthy. Hallelujah, King forever. We thank you for the cross.
But on that day, what seemed as the darkest hour of our hope broke through and shook the ground and us. The light of all the world was magnified, and your only victory. Hallelujah, it is finished. Hallelujah, it is done. Hallelujah, King forever. We thank you for the cross. Yeah. Hallelujah, it is finished by your blood. Hallelujah, it is done. Hallelujah, King forever. And we thank you for the cross. Yeah. And we thank you for the Hallelujah, what a Savior. Hallelujah, what a friend. Hallelujah, King forever. And we thank you for the cross. Sing that again. Hallelujah, what a Savior. Hallelujah, what a friend. Hallelujah, King forever. And we thank you for the cross.
Well, we thought we'd have a little fun and invite some sheep to chapel. Did you guys go get some sheep? Do a little mutton busting. If you haven't seen them, they're right outside this little grass area. So go and pet a sheep. I don't think you can ride the sheep. Definitely should not barbecue the sheep today. These are guests. But welcome it. Not that maybe the greatest day for me to invite sheep to campus, because did you wake up to this alert Saturday morning? I did. Between 4:30 and 5 a.m., a large adult male lion was sighted in the area of 700 Laguna Street. Sightings are rare due to the proximity of the animal's natural habitat. Your chances of encountering a mountain lion are small, apparently a little larger than before this announcement. The Santa Barbara Police Department and the state fish and game officials physically sighted the animal during a sweep of the area. It was identified by state experts as a large, possibly male, adult mountain lion. After an exhaustive search by local authorities, the animal was last seen in the 800 block of Laguna Street. For those of you that don't get down the hill very often, just think in terms of a few blocks away from the county bowl. Disappeared into the neighborhood, last seen Saturday morning. I text my son who lives like 2 blocks from there. I'm like, put your dog inside now. Now, just some advice in case some of you were to encounter the mountain lion. I've lived in town here 21 years, so I've never seen a mountain lion warning before, so this is kind of exciting. When we started, there were 2 sheep out there. Let's make sure and do a little count at the end, okay? If you see a mountain lion, do not run from the lion. Running may stimulate the mountain lion's instinct to chase. I always say you don't have to, that's not really great advice. You don't have to outrun the lion. You just need to outrun the guy next to you. So punch him in the quad and take off. Lastly, the Forest Service suggests that you do all you can to appear larger and raise your arms. That's going to be tough for me because everything in me is going to want to fall into the fetal position and start crying and perhaps soiling my pants. But you're supposed to open your jacket and wave your arms slowly and speak in a loud voice. Again, that's going to be hard for me because I'll be whimpering. But anyways, 2 sheep when we started. Let's check them out when we get back. All right, you're not going to believe it, but this is our final pass through Psalm 23 together. And in case you haven't learned about sheep enough, we've got just one more installment this morning for us. But just a reminder, this is where we've been. And man, do I encourage you to write this one on your heart. David is making this declaration. He's been a shepherd. He knows about sheep. He knows about shepherding. And he's a songwriter, and he's being poetic. And I'll say it one last time. He's saying something about someone. And he's saying something about his relationship to someone. And so he, towards the end of his life, writes, "The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, or through the darkest valley, I'll fear no evil because you are with me." And he turns it personal. You are with me. He says, "Your rod and your staff, they actually comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, and my cup overflows." And this morning, we'll consider this final ending. "Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." So let's examine the imagery. That's been our little habit. We learn a little something about the imagery. Reminder that David started in the green pastures and the still water, sort of around the ranch where the sheep start. And then in summertime, we went on the paths through dark valleys and through the right paths to get up to the tablelands in the summer. And there's just lush meadow. And now it's fall and the storms are starting and the hail and the sleet is going to start driving the sheep back down off the top of the tabletops and the tablelands and back home, back toward the ranch, back toward the safety of the corrals or enclosures of the shepherd's home. And during the seasons of the year, all the hazards and all the dangers. Remember, I said last time, there's a good chance that sheep don't thrive. There's just so much going against them. Some of it's inside, some of it's outside. And through all of that, it's the shepherd's vigilance, like his intentional, aggressive protection, thinking of the sheep. It's his doing a good job at who he is that has brought him safely home. And can I just say that, can you imagine the connection between a sheep and the shepherd after such a journey? Like the sheep know their shepherd. I love that passage of John 10 that we read this morning. It's beautiful. My sheep know my voice. And they know me and I know them. And so after a year, the sheep know I can trust him or her, and I am safe in their presence, and where they lead me, I should stick around, because the other ones it didn't work out so well for. I always said when I was doing youth ministry that a week at summer camp was like a year of friendship. Like you go through this wild adventure, and sometimes there really would be wild adventures, like backpacking in Colorado or something wild deal, and you've been through this together, and you're just closer than you were before. And that's the picture and the imagery that Jesus is, or that David is shaping for us about God and his people. About a sheep and a shepherd, that there's connection, there's trust that's built up. And that's why he can declare at the beginning of the psalm, the Lord is my shepherd. At the end, he makes another declaration, I'm going to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And it's just big, good, confident news, right? I just returned from San Francisco. Jamie and I drove up there Wednesday evening and got up there and spent Thursday and Friday with our Westmont and San Francisco friends. And I got to tell you, it was amazing. I grew up around the city, about an hour and a half away, so I've been to San Francisco a lot. When Jamie was a Westmont student, she did the program, so I went and visited. I just love San Francisco. It's a phenomenal city. But, you know, we spent most of the weekend in the Tenderloin. If you don't know San Francisco, you just need to hear this. The gnarliest neighborhood you have ever been in. People defecating in the streets, drugs visibly going on, human trafficking going on. The crime stats and the lifestyle stats around the Tenderloin are like no other place I've heard of and seen. It's just a wild deal. But that's where I spent most of the weekend. Had dinner there, went and did an art walk there Friday night with students. And watching the Westmont students, I'm absolutely blown away. I'm so impressed with watching these people walk around the Tenderloin comfortable, because they've been there. They've been there day in and day out, so many of them, for the last 2/3 of this semester, however much we got left. And it was marketable to me, or it was clear to me, like how confident they were. And I was asking one of them, we were at some center where they do stuff with this population that's just intense. And it's two other girls working with human trafficking, intense. And I'm asking them, with all that you believe about God, how are you holding that intention with what you're seeing every day? And I was just so encouraged at their answer. They said, well, God's bigger. He's way bigger than I thought he was. He's at work in places, in ways that I had no idea he was at work in. It was this, you could see it in their eyes. There was this confidence in God. Now, I don't want to romanticize that, because I remember Jamie's own journey. When she was there, she was a chaplain in the kidney transplant ward of the hospital. So she was dealing with life and death situations every day, and it rocked her world. It exploded her faith. It started to feel like it was falling apart. It felt like she was losing her faith for much of this process. But then when it got reassembled, it was bigger and vaster and could hold things in tension and hold mystery and confidence in the same embrace. And that's what happens to our faith. Our youth group faith has to break, because it's not big enough for what comes next. And then that season of faith has to break and become disassembled and become larger and more vast to hold a God that is bigger than we know. But that confidence that I was seeing in the students just made me think of this confidence that the sheep could have in the shepherd. I saw it in the students' eyes this weekend, that they were growing in their confidence of God because they'd been with him in situations that required trust. They got pushed, and they were trusting him more. And I thought it was beautiful. So David's statement at the end of the psalm is this declaration: surely, don't call me Shirley, surely goodness and loving kindness are going to follow me all the days of my life, and I'm going to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Did you know that 40 different times in the book of Psalms this phrase, the house of the Lord, shows up? It's kind of a big theme, this idea. Psalm 84, for a day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of wickedness. Psalm 26, oh Lord, I love the habitation of your house and the place where your glory dwells. Psalm 27, one thing I've asked of the Lord that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. Like, this is my heart's heart. This is my greatest desire. Psalm 84, blessed are those who dwell in your house, ever singing your praise. Guys, this is just the deepest of human longings. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter what country you come from. This sense, this hope, this desire to dwell with God rightly. I think that's an intense human thing that's actually written on us from the Creator, to dwell in the house of the Lord. And particularly, it has a large historical track record. After God delivered Israel through the waters of the sea, Moses led the people in a song. We sang some lyrics this morning from this song, which taught that the Lord in his steadfast love would lead the people he had redeemed, guiding them to his own holy house, the sanctuary of the Lord, which your hands have established. So there was this idea that Israel had been rescued so that they could dwell with God. So my question is, that's the imagery that David's playing with. How do we see this in Jesus? Like, how do we encounter Jesus as the Good Shepherd? What's Jesus' thoughts on dwelling in the house of God? Well, if I look at John in the teens chapters, there Jesus reinforces actually the themes of this psalm over and over and over. And I just want to grab a few things to highlight. In John 13, this is the foot washing scene, right? Where Jesus shocks his disciples, gets up, strips down, washes their feet, blows their minds, gives them a new paradigm. And he says this, he says, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another. When we celebrate Maundy Thursday, that's what this means, a new commandment. Maundy, command. So it's not Monday, Thursday. That was very confusing to me for a lot of years. Maundy, Thursday. And it's the day that we celebrate that Jesus gave his disciples a new command. As a Shemitah rabbi, he had the authority to do this, and he said, here it is, love one another. Heavy revy, big time. What? Love one another. He's giving them each other before he leaves, with this commitment to love one another. He says, by this all people will know that you're my disciples, if you have love for one another. It's not by your t-shirts, it's not by your bumper stickers, it's by your love for one another. I love this. Simon Peter says to him, Lord, where are you going? So often this happens when you see this with the disciples. Jesus is talking like the bread of heaven. He's talking about himself. He's talking about and they're thinking snacks. Like, bread? Crackers? What? Who packed the lunch? So here, Jesus is talking to love one another, new commandment. And Peter's like, where are you going? And Jesus said, where I am going, you cannot follow me right now. He's getting ready to go be crucified. But he says, you will follow me afterwards. And Peter said to him, Lord, why can I not follow you? I'll lay down my life for you. Jesus is like, come here, Peter. You will lay down your life for me? Yeah? Okay, well, truly I say to you, the rooster is not going to crow tomorrow morning until you've denied me 3 times. John 14, he says this, let not your hearts be troubled. Think of this in context of the words that we read or had read to us this morning out of John 10, that he's a good shepherd. Now listen to him talking to his sheep. He's about to leave for a while. And he says this, let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house, there's the theme, are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, that where I am, you may be also. You know the way where I'm going. You guys, this is really intimate language from Jesus to his friends. He's feeling their angst about what's coming up. They just know he's leaving. They don't know where he's going. They don't know how to get there. He just told them they can't go with him. They're starting to freak out. And he gives them each other. And then he says this, I will come again, and I will take you to myself, that where I am, you may be also. Isn't that interesting? I would have thought in the structure format that he would have said, I will come again, and I will take you to my Father's house, which is what I was just talking about. But he doesn't say that. Jesus says this to his friends, I will come again, and I'm going to take you to myself. Don't you find it that we kind of fantasize about there's some season of life maybe ahead of us where it will be less stressful? Or there's some circumstance that if this changes, then sort of everything will fall into place. Or there's some place, there's some situation, there's some thing that if that happens, then all will be well. I do this. I think we do this. We have this sort of fantasized view of what it means to be doing well. And Jesus doesn't say he's going to bring us to a place. He says he's going to bring us to himself. And I'm telling you that that's where life is. It's in this connection with the shepherd. It's in this tightness, this trust, this close proximity to Jesus. That's where life is. And I just put Jamie on a plane this morning. She flew to Houston for a meeting. Got up, crack of dawn, got to the airport. I get out of the car, get her luggage out, give her a hug, fantastic kiss. And then a frequent little deal for us is, you're my home. Come back home. It's just this, that wherever you are, that's my home. Like that, we're connected. And it's that intimate, the language that Jesus is using with his friends here. And he's using it this morning with you. That don't fantasize that there's a place or a situation or once you graduate or once you get the job or once you get the house, once you get married, you could miss your life waiting to get to the once. And Jesus is saying, I'm coming back and I'm going to bring you to myself because that's where life is. He says, don't be troubled. I'm preparing the way and you know the way. Thomas is like, we don't know where you're going. Like I kind of picture Thomas looking at Peter, James, and John, kind of the three insiders, and going, do you know where he's going? And they're like, I don't know where he's going. Do you know where he's going? Finally, Thomas is like, we don't know where you're going. Show us the way. And what does he say? He doesn't say, well, let me tell you the way. Here's 4 religious rules to follow. Oh, let me tell you the way. Here's how to be a good disciple. He says, I am the way. Just like he said, I'm going to bring you to myself. I am the way, the truth, the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. I'm the only way to the Father. Now it's Philip's turn. You know, he sort of drew the nose goes deal. It's like, Philip, you ask him. Okay, Jesus, show us the Father, for crying out loud. Jesus says, you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Jesus makes clear claim time after time and after time about his identity as God himself, and he does it again right here. And then he just tells them at the end of 14, do what I do, keep my commands. I'm not leaving you alone. I gave you each other. I'm giving you myself. I'm going to give you the Holy Spirit to be with you. John 15 is all about this message. Stay in me. Remain with me. Don't go off. You're on your own. Stay with me. And then John 16, the whole chapter, all about the Holy Spirit's role. You just get this really beautiful picture of Jesus, the Good Shepherd, saying all the things that his disciples really need to embrace and believe to be okay. Like Jesus really is our Good Shepherd. He really, really is. Even now, he's preparing a place for us. The place happens to be with him. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know it's going to be with him. So, In light of that, we can stand here in our very undone place, in our faith not totally assembled place, in our life not totally assembled place, and we can go, even right now, I lack nothing. Because I've got the God of the universe who has promised himself to me and is dwelling in me. I lack nothing. And you can actually live with that kind of confidence. I'm telling you, it is freeing. The key to confidence in Jesus is this, verse 1. Let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe in me. Know me, trust me, stay with me. And in the Gospel of John, believe is always a verb. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. We've gone to sheep school. Everyone just look around. Everyone here is now an ovenologist. Okay, you know a lot more about sheep than you ever wanted to, than you ever did at the beginning of the school year. Now we're going to end by going to Hebrew school. Just a few nuggets of things that you should know from the language that this psalm was written in. But let's just listen to this. This is Psalm 23 being spoken in the language that it was written. So maybe one nugget each verse. Verse 1, the Lord is my shepherd. The shepherd shares the same root, recha, as friend. I want you to think of this, the Lord is your friend. This one who spoke so intimately to his friends before he left. The Lord is your friend. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. That's menachat, quiet waters. It's a picture of rest. Y'all, God is your rest. I know that there's times we need a nap. There's times we need to work out. There's times we need better nutrition. Those are all good ideas. But the real rest that often is eluding us is our presence and our closeness with God. He's our rest. This verse, he restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. This is actually a scene of repentance. The word shuv is in there. It's this idea of being put right, of being put back on our feet again. So being on right paths is the idea of turning around from the paths that we should not be on, that don't lead to life. Yes, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You know, we used to make the boys, before they hit the front door going to school, Jamie would have them hit their Superman pose. I think I've tried to do that with you guys. You didn't do it, but you know, whatever your Superman pose is, but it's like this bold pose, like, I got this day. I'm going to grab this day. And you just kind of hold it for a little bit and then go out. And there's a whole bunch of psychology around it that it's, you know, you'll do better, whatever else. But mostly I just like to dress as a superhero and hit the pose. But this declaration, I will fear no evil. Like, I wondered the last time if you have ever, in fact, just declared that. I will fear no evil. I want to challenge you to just say, Lo chira ra. You ready? Let's do it. Lo chira ra. That's that I will fear no evil. Next time you get afraid, just try that instead of freaking out. Remember who's fighting for you. Remember this, when I did the different Jehovah names, Jehovah Nissi, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. It's this idea that the Lord is my banner. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's like in a military fight, they would have banners. Like, other guys have bows and arrows and swords and spears, whatever, Like, poor guy that's holding the banner. It's like, what are you going to do, hit him in the head with a banner? But your job is to hold the banner so that platoon knew where they were supposed to be. I belong to them. My identity is with those guys. I got to reconnoiter and get with them. The Lord is my banner. That's where I belong, close to him. Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Maybe you heard these words, Tov and Chesed, goodness and loving kindness, or unfailing love. It's one of the more beautiful Hebrew terms, and it shows up over and over in the scriptures. But here's the fun part. What it actually says is Tov and Chesed, goodness and loving kindness, are pursuing me all the days of my life. Just think of that actually it's not up to your pursuit. God is pursuing you with goodness and loving kindness. The word here is like a hunter tracking its prey, like the mountain lion tracking the chihuahua, okay? That God is radaf, he is pursuing, he's running after, he's relentless. This is why one songwriter called God the hound of heaven. He comes after us with goodness and loving kindness. With laws and dead religion? No. With goodness and loving kindness. He's pursuing us. So we have reason to be confident in God. That's what I want you to hear. I want you to embrace it. To be confident in God. He has had his hand on us. He is right now blessing us, and he's more active in your life than you see. He has anointed you against battles that you don't even know you're in. He's preparing a place for you, and he's the place. So we can be confident in our shepherd. And just like the sheep, we're prone to being vulnerable, prone to being lost. But with Jesus, look out. Look out. We are powerful people that carry about in us light and the love of God. We embody it. This is one of the things I love about my friend Sam. That guy is fearless. He walks into the gnarliest places, in one of the gnarliest places I've ever been, and he is light and love because he knows who is living in him. And that, brothers and sisters, is for you. It's for you. Embrace it. Be confident. Declare it. The Lord is your shepherd. You lack nothing. Amen.